Okay, take two. Stupid batteries. Alright, so here we go. This will be the first episode because I have about 8 minutes and a half left on that camera right now. The first episode of a series of videos that I'm going to be doing from time to time called What I Believe. Tolstoy's What I Believe, right? You should get the joke. If you knew what you were talking about, you'd get the joke. Tolstoy wrote a book called What I Believe about pacifism. Anyway, so first things first, I'm going to start one of my little mini-sermons with this. This is a Holy Bible. Look at it. Almost all religions, the major ones at least, the major ones that I consider important, which yes, I do have a biased opinion. I don't believe that the wacky tribe of Tingadandao, who worship the three-headed monkey god, that's really prominent as compared to the major religions, which I perceive to be Shinto, Buddhism, any of the Abrahamic religions, which are Judaism, Christianity, Islam, and maybe a few others. Probably like Rastafarianism. I kind of like the Rastafarians, even if they are blasphemers. Okay, so I have read, or I understand pretty much the history. Most again, major religions have followed this pattern, which is one, they have a prophet. The prophet, or the major founder, says something really out there, and someone says, boy howdy, we ought to write that down. And then it gets written down. Buddhism, Siddhartha or Shakyamuni Buddha basically said a bunch of this stuff about freeing yourself from attachment and thus freeing yourself from suffering. And he created, I'm trying to make sure that I've got, like, you can actually see me in the shot. And he created Buddhism because he basically taught all his teachings, all of these supreme teachings to a bunch of monks that followed his way, and then they basically passed it on by word of mouth for a few generations until they called the council. I think about 200 monks who all came together from across the land and decided to try to set the record straight and write this down before the teaching was distorted. Some people believe the teaching was distorted, and they actually had a schism, and they split into two types of Buddhists. Who cares? And of course, the Quran was created by supposedly the Prophet Muhammad. Heard about, had an angel appear to him, I believe it was Gabriel, who told him you're the last prophet of God, and here's all the stuff that God needs to say to his followers, have fun with that, and they wrote it down. The Bible is a mite different. There was not one prophet, there were many prophets. And it was written down in a whole bunch of ways. We need to split the Bible in two. The Bible is split in two for a very good reason. There's the First Testament and the Second Testament. The First Testament was mainly held by the Jews, and it was, entirely by the Jews. I think all the prophets of that were Jewish. And in the original Jewish tongue, it's called the Tanakh. And the Tanakh is basically the combination of the three bits, the Torah, which is the laws, which a lot of fundamentalists would have you believe that Moses himself was the one who committed to papyrus to paper to form, and then even some slate, cuneiform, one of the early methods of writing down any type of religious text. I believe the early religious texts that were written down by the Babylonians was written in cuneiform, which was basically just clay slates that they would wet and then make symbols on and then dry. And of course they wrote the Epic of Gilgamesh, which was one of the oldest books aside from the original Tanakh. The Torah, there was a lot of theories about the origin. A popular one used to be Julius Wellhausen's four writers theory, suggesting there were actually four Jewish writers who wrote it all down, and it was collected, and then they found it in some churches in Judea. I can't really get into that, and believe it or not, I actually haven't had much education on that. But it doesn't really matter, because the First Testament is not what we're looking at. But, well, it is right now, but it's like, that's not what I base most of my belief on. I think the other three sections beside that are, I don't remember the last one, but I remember it's Torah, Ketuvim, and the Ketuvim was, I'm going to screw this up, but basically the other two sections of the Tanakh were, let's see, books that described the laws, or the 615 mitzvah of the Jews, which I think a lot of people are confused. A lot of people believe that the mitzvahs are also Christian commandments, but they're not. So like all that stuff about stoning gays and witches, that was Old Testament God. That was the 615 mitzvah. If that's true, then Christians should also not be eating shellfish, and we shouldn't be wearing polyester, because it actually says, do not wear, it is detestable to grow two types of material, cloth, like both cotton and something else, I don't know, in a field, and then wear a clothing sewn of two types of material. I'm like, okay, and there's a reason that Christians can do that stuff, and I can tell you why, but that's probably gonna be like 20 episodes from now. Okay, so ways that they wrote, what am I trying to say about this? Ways that the original Bible was written in. Again, they might have started off, I don't remember if my education or what I read before suggested that they started off with tablets, but I don't believe so. They might have. supposedly Moses wrote down the Ten Commandments on the tablets, but this could be, shall I say, embellishment? I don't believe so. I would actually hold my tongue on that. But let's just say that most of the Old Testament, the Tanakh, was written down on papyrus reeds and then turned into scrolls. You've seen the Jewish churches; they have big scrolls of the Ketuvim. People will write their names in on the wedding, and the Ketuvim, which is kind of weird. And basically, in the last bit of it, you have. No, wait a second. Oh yeah, you've got the Torah, which is your 615 mitzvah, your rules. The Ketuvim, I believe, was like poetry and stuff like that, like Psalms, and Song of Solomon. Psalms was basically a bunch of stuff that King David wrote down saying, and I think some other kings perhaps, saying, God, oh, I love you, you're my, you're the only God, oh, I love you so much, and basically praises. And then you have Song of Solomon, which was a love letter from King Solomon to his first wife. Okay, most of that was written down on papyrus reed and kept very well, and of course rewritten. They had more than one. Okay, it kept getting rewritten over time. Now, a lot of people make the mistake of saying like it's like a game of telephone. They're like, oh, you tell one person and they tell the next person. Oh, in the end it's all distorted. I'm like, no, that's our society. I read a commentary once. It was quite interesting. How much time do I have left? Crap, not very much. Real quick, I read a commentary once that said that we are a society that has this problem where, well, we don't have a problem, but it's like in our society, in our modern digital age, we do not understand them. Like we cannot grasp how good the memories of the ancient people were. Back then, during the when the Jews were, after the Jews were exiled during their campaign through, past the Iraqi Peninsula into what we consider the Promised Land or modern-day Zion, and then fighting all these desert tribes for it and such. That during that time, they had a culture that was very, very based on memorization. In fact, I believe I heard of a law that said that if you did not know the passage exactly, and you could not cite exactly in the book where the passage was, and you could not mention the commentary from the oral Torah, when it was written down, it was called the Talmud? No, the Talmud is the Mishnah. If you could not do all that, and you couldn't even speak it, if you did not know the passage word for word, you couldn't speak it. In our society, it's okay if we don't know the exact quote, because we can just look it up on the internet, on Google. Alright, that was part one. I'm probably running out of time. I'll continue this stuff. Maybe not right now, maybe in a few more vids. Don't complain about it. And remember the rules. Watch how you respond, man.